Physical activity and youth culture. Since the 1960s and 1970s, physical activities have played a large role in the formation of youth subcultures, youth-based groups whose interests, styles, tastes and behaviour mark them different from the adult culture. But in the early 21st century, is this still the case? While music and fashion seem to have remained key points around which subcultures are formed, even in the technological age, have physical activities become less important to youth as a means of differentiating themselves from the mainstream culture? What is culture? Culture can be defined in many ways, but is commonly defined as a group of people who share the same knowledge, experiences, beliefs, values, attitudes, hierarchies, religion, and more. There are many cultures within one another, and they all differ greatly. They can be sectioned into many levels, including national, regional, gender, generational, social, and corporate levels. The Australian culture is a national level culture, which has many smaller systems within it. As an individual, we belong to many different subcultures at once. Youth culture. Young people have formed their own cultural group within our society, known as youth culture. Being from the same generation is the main aspect as to why they share their own culture. However, in general, they also share the same attitudes, likes, knowledge and experiences, which differ greatly from the adult population. However, we all know each individual is different to the other. So we have youth subculture. The youth culture has many different subcultures within it that segregates adolescents into smaller groups within our society. A subculture is a group of adolescents that are defined by certain interests, behaviours and styles. Subcultures emerged in the 1950s, originally being formed around the influence of music and fashion and sometimes physical activities. Many young individuals struggle to fit into the mainstream society, therefore resort to a subculture, as it allows them to be particular identity outside that of described by social institutes such as family, school and work. It can provide young people with a set of guidelines on how to behave, how to dress and how to think. It gives a child a sense of belonging, may boost their social skills and can also just be for fun. Subcultures are important for a young individual who is trying to find their sense of self and where they belong in today's society. Adolescents may venture through multiple subcultures before finding the one that suits them. Some common youth subcultures today. We have the gamer, an individual with high interest in computer, PlayStation, Xbox games, etc. The surfer, usually found riding a surfboard or boogie board, may be characterised by their long hair, board shorts, wetsuit or bikini. The hippie, easygoing, flowy casual fashion, enjoys live music festivals and tends to travel around. The skateboarder, rides a skateboard, wears baggy clothes, seen at the skate park or on the streets. The nerd, a very intellectual individual often lacking social skills and commonly defined by their clothing, the glasses, the button-up tee and the suspenders. The jock, a high-profile athlete, also known as the footy boy, very common to have in a high school, to have a jock or a group of jocks. And the goth, often associated with listening to depressing music, lots of black clothing, makeup, which is pale skin and black eyeliner. Physical activity and its influence on youth subcultures. Physical activity has had a large influence on the development of youth subcultures both in the past and continue to greatly influence them today. With fashion and music now playing a vital part in some youth subcultures, there are many in which physical activity is now the main determinant of that subculture. Surfing is a good example. In the 1960s, surfing was taken up by a lot of adolescents as it was seen as a cool, relaxed sport to do. The fashion was bikinis, board shorts, long hair. The car you drove and the board you rode were all key components to belonging to the subculture group. However, today, the group is more defined around the actual athleticism needed over the other characteristics. Surfing has become a more competitive sport, with skill being a main focus. The fashion component is still there, however it is more practical. Wearing a wetsuit is largely incorporated into the stigma of surfing. The sport is the main key to the subculture, however it is influenced by the fashion still. With surfing now becoming such a popular sport, it has its own subcultures. There are longboard riders, shortboard riders, male riders and boogie board riders. Similar to surfing, the subculture of skateboarding has and still continues to be influenced by physical activity. It too has become a more competitive sport, however still has the influence of fashion. Skating started in the 1950s when surfing came to the street. It began in the backyard as a small subculture, but branched out when it came to the street, the parks and various terrains. Today, skateboarding is a popular sport in subculture due to its freedom compared to other sports. It tests skills and pushes a rider out of their comfort zone. It is found that the sport of skating is positively promoting socialising within the skateboarding community. Skate parks have become a popular place for not only physical fitness, but a place where individuals who value the same things can hang out. According to Soma, skateboarding is not just the physical act, but a way of thinking, doing and living. For some, it becomes a way of life, and members of the culture take pride in defining themselves as a skateboarder. In today's society, professional sports such as NRL, cricket, soccer and netball have all highly become popular for the younger generations. There is an increase in the supporter for the above sports. When individuals take particular interest in these sports, they become involved in a subculture based around the sport and the competition. The group of people have similar attitudes and values towards these teams. A young group of boys at school are a typical example of this. They will generally show a common interest in football. They'll talk about it, play it in their spare time, watch it and support it. Likewise, it would be typical for a group of girls to both enjoy playing, watching and supporting netball. There is a large range of sports that are commonly engaged in and shown on TV these days, compared to before. Therefore, the number of subcultures based around sports has increased. We are not limited to subcultures based around typical sports such as cricket and football, but we now have wrestling, golf, synchronized swimming and more. Gender has become less of a concern when defining a subculture, especially in sports. Since the 1950s Twiggy movement, where women wanted to be skinny and small-busted, the ideal figure for women has drastically changed. It has become more acceptable for women to be involved in male sports that are associated with masculinity, such as weightlifting or football. It has also become more accepting of different genders and sexualities engaging in a range of sports, therefore increasing the range of diversity of subculture groups. For example, it has become more socially acceptable for males to participate in dance, especially ballet. Due to this acceptance for both sexes in a range of sport, there has been a change and increase in the subcultures based around physical activity. Also, there are sports that are highly based around physical activity that still have the key fashion and attitude characteristics that help define them. So physical activity does have a large influence on new subcultural groups, and as HPE teachers there are some things that we should consider. Teachers need to be aware of the subcultures and the various dynamics within the classroom. It is good to understand the current trends and be able to assist students that are trying to fit in. At times, students may find themselves trying to fit into a group that promotes negative behaviour. We need to be aware of this. In PE, the sense of self is highly focused on during Years 7 and 8. And during this time, subcultures will be explored. It is important to promote awareness and acceptance in the classroom of different groups and individuals. Girls are generally more active out of school than in the HPE classroom. Teachers need to try and accommodate these individuals, making them feel as though they can be involved. In practicals, it is typical for students to automatically divide the class into two subcultural groups by gender, the males and the females. Typically with males being labelled as more dominating and higher skilled. This division into subcultural groups can result in the female students being less actively engaged. A game should be modified, or classes should consider splitting the genders up or the level of ability during practicals. Many subcultures are defined by their fashion sense. Therefore, when it comes to PE, students may grow a strong disliking to the subject, as they are forced to go out of their dress code. Teachers can try and accommodate this by allowing small adjustments. For example, a student who falls into the Gothic subculture group would like to wear long black sleeve clothing. The polo shirt typically worn in PE practicals may make the student feel uncomfortable. Therefore, the teacher may allow them to bring and wear another black shirt underneath their polo while participating in PE practical. As PE teachers, we highly influence the view that young adolescents will have on physical activity. Therefore, it is of high importance that we encourage all subcultures to participate in a range of sport that suits their attitude and beliefs, so that we can ensure physical activity plays a large role in the formation of new subcultures. Physical activity does play a large role in the formation of new subcultures, and it even helps with the creation of new ones as time goes on. Young adolescents will always be highly influenced by the components of their everyday lifestyle. the music, the fashion, the cars. The physical activities are currently playing a large role in helping the youth of today find who they are in today's society and influence their choices into subcultures that define them from the mainstream society.